Hi, good evening. Hi, Michael. Hi, Anushka. Hi, Carla, Barbara, Anne, Lenlise, Trisha, Josanne. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for logging on and locking on, and coming to spend time with us this Sunday evening. So, 2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister would have made announcements that we're heading into opening back up the economy through safe zones. So I went online and started looking at the rules, the guidelines, and then this weekend I made the mistake of going and checking out these pictures. Miami Carnival. And get myself sick. Like when I tell you sick, like serious sick. Like real tabanka sick. Like I need to put on clothes. Well, actually, maybe the first thing I need to do is put on go and have a like a proper shower, wash hair, deep condition, go to a spa, all kind of thing, and then head out the house and do things. So basically, I saw all of this talk and saw all of this noise about safe zones. Now, I've been following the safe zone conversation in other parts of the world because, like you all, I have friends in other parts of the world, and they all would have been talking about all of the things that are happening now, and they're kind of able to go back out and live with the virus. And that's the overarching trend now and theme globally. We have to figure out how to live with the virus. So in thinking about how to talk about living with the virus, I didn't just want to talk about the legislation. I didn't just want to talk about the rules, because we can't talk about the rules, and we are going to look at the rules in a little bit. But I wanted to talk about how it would impact like actual real life persons. And I have lots of friends that are creatives, that are entrepreneurs, that are in the entertainment sector. So I invited two of them, and they're right there in that flyer for you to see. So Vaughnette and Ingrid are already here, sitting in my green room, waiting to come on. But I still wanted to torture myself with some more of these images. So there was that, this lady whining. And of course, I'm watching the fella in his bubble costume because he's making sure that he's entirely COVID protected. Then second star in Rome at a fete. Where's the other one, boy? I have a picture here. Aha, there's this picture of the president of the Red Man Association on stage, fetting. I saw some videos as well of him fetting, leaping in the air. And I'm not gonna lie, a single tear, actually more than a single tear, plenty tears was welling up in my eyes as I thought to myself, I could be in a vet. So Bond, the movie, came out this week as well in other parts of the world, and I haven't been to the cinema in ages. It's one of the things that I love to do. So I said to myself, I'm going to bring two friends on and we're going to be talking about things. But before I bring them on the screen, let's look at some of the issues to deal up with this safe zone. So safe zones can't operate at more than 50% capacity, and that I think is going to be a serious constraint for persons who are opening back up and looking to run businesses. Mask wearing is mandatory. Mask wearing, I think, is going to be the biggest challenge for me, because generally I hate wearing a mask. So I see this and I'm thinking to myself, I have to get more comfortable masks if I'm going to go out and hang out and wear a mask the entire time. No alcohol consumption. I know that is going to be a challenge for some, because for lots of people, they go out to be able to drink socially. Patrons have to be vaccinated. You have to be 12 years and over. You have to present a valid vaccination card or copy of a valid vaccination card and a valid form of ID. For the unvaccinated persons, you have to provide either a certificate or a negative PCR test. Then, what's the other thing I wanted to look at? There we go. So these are the safe zones: restaurants, bars, gaming houses. So those of you who are into casinos or betting pools, you can go to that. If you're into cinema or theater, you have that to go to. Private members clubs. I always thought private members clubs and casinos were the same thing, but now I understand differently. And of course, theaters, gyms, fitness studios, all of those things are available. The places that will remain closed: beaches, rivers, streams, ponds, springs, or similar bodies of water. And if this government doesn't realize that it needs to say canal and drains as well, they're going to learn something, because as Trinidadians, we just figure out how to hold a river lime at any body of water. I think people put water in a bowl, people put water in a cup and figure out how to have a lime around that. So, of course, schools remain closed, early childhood education centers remain closed, and there's still a number of businesses that can't open, and there are specific guidelines for schools. And we will have to talk about schools at a different point in time. What does this one say? Right. All of the safety zones have to carry signage, proper signage, and I think that's important, that people get to indicate it's a safe zone, their employees are vaccinated, and that they have proof of, and that you have to prove that you are vaccinated. So of course, my big concern here is people who are going to try and forge and fake vaccination information. So the penalties, if the owners don't follow the law, what's the penalty for them, boy? $25,000. The fee could be as high as $50,000, and they end up 3 months in prison. So imagine Vaughnette hold an event and she didn't follow the law, and then she had to end up with 3 months in prison. They'd be making my day with that. And then that's for the private own, and for regular persons, for patrons, there are also penalties for patrons. So 5,000, it could go as high as 10,000, and 3 days in prison. So them's the breaks there. But I think everybody looking on, you are aware of what the constraints are, what is likely to happen, what you have to do. I want to find out from my guests, and I'm going to bring them on screen now, so you all have the opportunity to put on your best smile and your best face. Right, so there we go. Vaughnette and Ingrid, thank you so much for joining me. Next direction, Ingrid.
Hi.
Right, that's perfect. Absolutely.
Yes, my other left.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Right. So, ladies, actually, I don't want to start with it now. Let's start with going back a little bit. Vaughnette, what has this year been like for you thus far? We're looking at January to now, because there was a part of the year when we would have been allowed to have events, to see each other, to interact, to be human, and to go outside and people. So what has it been like for you thus far?
It's been a challenging year. January, February, February I actually started planning an event, which happened on the 11th of April. So I was able to have a very successful 400 in-person event on April 11th. But that was just 2 weeks before the I don't know, boy. There's something about me that lockdown follows when I have an event. What the hell is that?
Well,
I
then
don't know.
maybe we should make sure you don't have an event anytime soon.
Maybe. Because I get away by the skin of my.
Please, Vaughnette, do not have an event.
Right?
2 weeks after. 2 weeks after the lockdown and the state of emergency and everything else, and the cases started escalating and whatnot. And of course, we haven't been able to do anything since then. So it's been just a post-April stillness, and as I say, trying my best to remain focused and balanced and out of depression or out of that state of I was very honest in saying that when I didn't plan that far ahead, it was a bit easier.
Yeah.
So I would wake up and I would say, you know what, Vaughnette, I could only account for today, one day at a time, and let's see how it goes, because we just couldn't plan that far ahead. So it's been like that, up until maybe 2 weekends ago, when the announcement was made that we could actually do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it's been prior to just basically trying to remain sane and to be ready for whenever anything else changes. The change that came 2 weeks ago.
Gotcha. Ingrid, you've had at the same kind of up and down. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, a really, really intense up and down, an intense 18 to 19 months, because there was lockdown, big, heavy lockdown for you. Cinemas got hit very, very, very quickly, very early. And then it seemed to me almost by the time you were allowed to open back up, which would have been around what, December of last year?
November, yes.
Right, November, December, thereabouts. Not too long thereafter, and you were able to reopen. Cinemas were able to reopen, but with severe constraints in terms of
Yes.
seating capacity and stuff. Then by
Yes.
April, it was shut right back down again. So
What happened? It went to like April, middle of April, you could open, but no food. So that was like, taking one leg off in the race, but still running, right? And then 1st of May, again, they took a third shutdown. So it was hard, because we were just getting new content. We were
Yeah.
just getting, Godzilla versus Kong. It was just getting a little momentum because it was slow to start. And we were finally seeing new content being released. And then a hard close again for 5 months. It would be 5 months and 10 days.
yeah. It's
They had 10 days.
it's
I know it. Not 10 days.
I feel if we ask Ingrid, she could probably say how many hours and minutes as well. Right? So there's been an announcement that you're going to open back up. Ingrid, let me start with you. What does being able to reopen mean in terms of challenges?
A lot of challenges still, but as I say, a very tiny light at the end of a long tunnel, because the difference with opening up this time is that we have exciting content that will pull people off the couch, off from Netflix to come out and watch a movie. I mean, the big constraint is being a safe zone.
Yeah.
And the safe zone constrains us from delivering the customer service, because our staff, we need to be fully vaccinated to deliver the service. And the patrons need to be fully vaccinated to come and enjoy the movie. We don't know how big that audience is. And the constraint of it starting at 12 and over. So that means 11 and under.
Yeah.
Who also enjoy movies, because going to the movies is a family form of entertainment.
Today was the first time I paid attention to the age constraint and thought to myself, oh, so children can't go to cinema. That is only today I realized that. So that removes two audiences for you, children and tweens.
Yes. You must be 12 and over. But, we kind of lived that actually throughout the lockdown, because we didn't have many PG-13 and PG-rated movies. And that was one of the constraints of being in a pandemic, because studios were holding back the content. And obviously, they looked at content that, listen, parents are going to want to keep their kids at home. We're going to stream the content, right? Versus now we have vaccines available, and in the other markets they are allowing all ages to go out to the cinemas so far, as in the big markets, because like in New York and Los Angeles, in the States, those are some big markets, Canada, UK. they are allowing everyone to enjoy the movies. So those are real constraints. Still operating in a safe zone, being at 50% occupancy, it kind of begs the question, well, if it's a safe zone and everybody is vaccinated, why not go back to regular occupancy? Let the movie determine whether it's a full room or not.
Right. So
Right?
giving you the option of 100% occupancy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Because there's social distancing anyway, in a theater anyway. You're all facing one way. We still have to wear the mask once you're not eating and enjoy the movie. So that was another thing we thought, eventually we hope that as the numbers hopefully support us, the daily stats support us, that we could then ask, okay, can you ease it up? Can we go to 75%? There's
Right.
confidence that going to the movies is not adding extra stress to the daily positivity cases and the healthcare, right? And then one more thing would be the hard close at 10 p.m. It would have been great if we had gone to 12.
Right. So what is that going to mean for you in terms of scheduling? Because normally you will have multiple viewings for the day. So what does it mean in terms of scheduling?
It cuts down the shows by about 2 shows. And those are the prime shows, because going to the movies is usually in the evening.
Yeah, it's an after work, after hours sort of thing.
Yes, unless it's a crazy title like Black Panther and people come out at 3 a.m. in the morning to watch a movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the anomaly, right? So it does constrain it commercially. But that said, I've been asked this question over and over, because everybody is kind of intrigued that, the cinemas are going to open. How do we feel? You know what? We are happy to open, Rhoda, because we want to get back that habit of going to the movies, because we've created habits in this pandemic.
Yes.
Right? And we want to recreate that, energize that part of your brain of going out.
I was having a conversation with some friends before getting ready this afternoon. I was saying that in this last 18, 19 months, because the way you all had to shut down immediately, I had to transition from working face-to-face to working virtually immediately. And I've been working entirely virtually for the last 19 months. And now I don't feel comfortable going out. When I leave my house, and I mean, it's not that I don't leave my house. When I have to go to the grocery, for instance, now, I'm thinking about, okay, what's the best time to go when there are as few persons as possible in the grocery? When I have to go into Port of Spain to do something, I'm very reluctant now to have to go around large numbers of persons. I just feel uncomfortable now around large numbers of persons. And I realized that all of the isolation in the last 19 months has made it so that I'm uncomfortable just being around people, and I need to get out of that, because if I don't get out of that, it'll just get worse and worse and worse, to the point where I don't even want to see Vaughnette. Right?
You never want to see me. What's your problem?
But Vaughnette, let me pull you in here now. What does it mean that you're being told? Because, I mean, you're not like Ingrid. You don't have, a place that you're opening up on a daily basis for people to come and hear you sing jazz. You don't have Vaughnette's Jazz Club yet. So what does what does opening back up mean for you?
I tell people that creatives, contrary to the thought pattern of many, most of the creatives I know are very proud people. We create, we do what we have to, our art is important to us, and we really just want to be able to express that, and in exchange for a little cash so that we can live. Primarily, we don't want, I wish I never have to apply to a government for a grant. I wish I never have. All I want is to have the ability and the freedom to be able to play my music and to get a little cash to sustain myself in exchange. So the fact that this space has been created, and I'm very sensitive about the whole issue of inclusion and exclusion, and who feel that because they're not vaccinated, they're being excluded and we're only including. But you know, as much as I'm sensitive to that, I also have to be able to work.
Yeah. And I understand that challenge. I understand that challenge significantly because, of course, part of my concern with going out, whether it's cinema or coming to an event that you are doing or, you know, anything at all right now, I'm consistently thinking about what could I possibly be exposing myself to, right? Especially now that Delta is in the communities. But at the same time, I don't want to be shunning people. I don't. Because I have people in my life who are not vaccinated. They have no desire to get vaccinated. And I've not been a vaccine evangelist in the sense, if you tell me you're not interested in getting vaccinated, I leave the conversation alone. If you want to know where you could go and get a vaccine, which vaccine you could get at the location, the days, the times, the hours, I'll tell you all of that. If you want to ask me a question about mRNA, and I'll talk to you about that. But once you say to me, I'm not vaccinated and I'm not interested in getting vaccinated, I don't have anything further to say, right? We press on and we discuss the things that we need to discuss. But as somebody who has to, how you're making a living is through entertainment. And to entertain, you have to be doing this in venues. You have to be performing live. There's only so much live streaming you can do.
It's not. And then even as I was explaining to someone about live streaming and streaming events or doing the events and the Fund Me TNT event, I'm saying that over the course of the last 18 months, people have been contributing to online performances. But there's some level of, I say, exhaustion or fatigue as it relates to the consumption of online events and paying for those online events. Rhoda and Ingrid, there are some creatives or some artists who have not been able to work in 18 months.
I know. Not been able to work.
Not worked one day in 18 months. And for the life of me, I do not know how they are surviving.
They've not been able to work. They don't necessarily fall under any of the social services that are available to them. So the social safety net doesn't apply to them. Being able to pivot, being able to find something else to do when the entire service sector, for the most part, was shut down, made it very difficult for them to do anything at all. So I have no idea how many of these artists were able to survive. So the mental toll alone that must have taken.
Exactly.
Right?
A lot of them are suffering silently. And I'm saying that as much as we may have our issues with the safe zones and how it's been applied or what, this for me, when I got that announcement, I think you, I don't know if it's you tagged me because I wasn't around, I wasn't online when.
No, you weren't online. You weren't online. I think I was like one of two people. I was one. Immediately put up statuses saying, okay, Vaughnette can have a show now.
Exactly. But I felt a weight lifted off of my shoulder. I have to be honest.
It was like a boulder did this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the three of us in different capacities talk to each other. Because Ingrid, you and I check in with each other about once a week. Vaughnette, I'm not going to talk about how often we check in with each other because people start to think we're friends. In any case, we chat with each other about these things. And I'm not going to lie. The minute I knew that these safe zones were going to be a thing, the two of you were like there in the top 5 persons that I was thinking about. So Ingrid, if I can ask you, because you've been very shy about talking about the psychological toll, but what has the psychological experience been like for the last 18 months?
Torturous. You know, and why I say torturous, because it's not just me.
Yeah.
If it were just myself that it was affected, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you are carrying other people because you've employed other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have, I mean, we were in the process of building out San Fernando. You have a whole project going on. Everything just ground to an absolute halt.
Mm-hmm.
And you felt powerless because you really couldn't do until, right? So it really, the same things that you spoke about, Vaughnette, of waking up each day and doing what you can and just really taking control of the things that you could and leaving the rest literally at the foot of the Lord was what carried me through. I know it sounds, but really that was it. And continuously trying to keep in contact with the ecosystem that is a cinema, right? It's employees, it's vendors, it's landlords, you know, still keeping. And so the same way of trying to keep hope that it must have an end, that soon this, you know, and looking for milestones to keep you going, was what really carried me through. And also, you know, comfort, misery loves company. You know, cinema is an international sector.
Yeah.
So we were all living it together, right?
Yes.
You know, just the jealousy began when in May, all the markets that had been closed, when we were open, were finally open, and now we were closed, right? So the Good Night Monster did raise its, you know, head, because I'm like, dang, I missed that title, dang, I missed that title, you know? So it was tough. It was tough. Like Vaughnette, I felt a big, when I finally heard the words that we would have been allowed to open. As contentious as it is, because both of you are right. Who wants to have an army of unvaccinated and vaccinated now with a line in the sand in how we operate?
You really don't.
No.
Yeah, you really don't.
Come on, we all eat macaroni pie, chow mein, stewed chicken, and all, you know, green banana on our plates. We are an inclusive society, so it's going to be a difficult walk now.
Yes,
from the level.
Yes,
it's going to be difficult
because
and we are entertainers. Vaughnette is one. We are a creative, you know, society, and we love to come together. So it's going to be a new phase now.
It is going to be. It almost feels as if there's a kind of social re-engineering for me. I mean, personally, that I have a mindset that I have to get into now, because you're talking about how communal we are, the things that we are accustomed doing, right? So what comes to my mind is chow, right? I like to talk about chow. I know not everybody likes chow, but you know, savory things, right? So you make a bowl of chow in school, and you don't pause to think who have the flu, who don't have the flu, who hand going into it. You know, you make it, everybody like it, and everybody hand in it, right?
Whether or not they wash that hand.
Right? whether or not they wash that hand. And now I'm here thinking it's a virus, but it's a virus that can kill. So I might want to go out, but I had to go out and stand up far from you. And I have to remember to stand at a distance. Because remembering to distance took me a while. It took me a long stretch of months to remember to stand up far, to stay far from persons when I was interacting with them. It's a little bit easier now, all right? But it's not an easy position to be in. So Vaughnette is planning to have a show. And Vaughnette asked me the other day on a thread if I come into the show. No. And I'm not going to the show, not because I'm afraid of getting the virus, I don't feel right now I could go to a show and not do what I am accustomed to doing at a show.
Yes.
Right? How do I go to this event and keep my mask on and keep a distance? So I still feel like I have to mentally make that shift. But let me pull myself out of this because I really want to talk. I want all the experiences. So Vaughnette, you're watching all of these Miami videos and pictures from Miami and thing. As a performer, how you feeling? And as a Trini, how you feeling?
Oh my gosh, it was hurtful. It was hurtful. To be honest, a couple of people had been encouraging me to in the past couple of months to go to New York and kind of just feel out the scene. But for me, I'm not a soca artist, so
Yeah.
I knew too that the market that they were going to piggyback off of, I would not have, because I'm not a soca artist, and I felt like if I was going anywhere, I should go somewhere. If I had, let's say, I had a couple gigs lined up, I didn't want to just go there to see, because to go there to see at 7 to 1 ain't making sense. It's better see in library at TT rate. You understand? But when I saw the pictures, man, I was saying, well, what is this? I mean, I felt so, and I felt good. I felt happy,
Yes.
but I also felt this sense of, well, when are we going to get to this door?
Point. Yeah.
What do we need to do to be able to get to this? Now, maybe 2 weeks from now, we're going to see some sort of, I don't know what is going to be the outcome of all of that revelry and closeness. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it gave me some kind of hope in that, okay, something can happen. Me, I watching all them pictures, I didn't see one mask yet, and me, I see one person in a mask.
No mask. I also saw
No?
loads of pool parties. And I've been following the conversation as well, right? So not just the pictures and the videos, but also the conversation with persons saying, well, okay, let's see what happens in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And in all fairness, in 2 or 3 weeks, it's not going to be so much the infection rates that I'm looking for. In 2 to 3 weeks, I actually want to see more persons were encouraged to go and get vaccinated from seeing people go out.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Shilan said the same
would
thing.
be great.
Shilan said he thinks that the videos and pictures are going to encourage a few people to get vaccinated. And
Yeah.
maybe
Well, two
let's-
friends of
let's
mine who
hope.
are entertainers said on the weekend, like this weekend here, that they're now going to go get vaccinated. So, Vaughnette, what has that experience been like for you? Because you have a band, and of course, you would have to get people vaccinated. And Ingrid, I'm going to come back to you with the same question because you have
Yeah.
staff, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
how?
let me tell you something. Bracing that topic, that topic of vaccination is such a sensitive topic. I mean, even when I was thinking of having this event, I had to, of course, reach out to all my band members and say, well, okay, guys, I'm thinking now these guys the people who play with me have been playing with me in excess of 10 years. I don't change musicians. The musicians that play with me are people who have been playing with me for 10 years plus.
Yeah.
They, apart from musicians, they're friends. They're part of my unit. They're part of the sound.
Your family.
understand?
They're your family.
It is like this. They are family. And it was such an uncomfortable thing for me to have to reach out to them to tell them and to let them know that I'm not imposing my opinion, but this is just the case. There's a chance that we may be able to play. I don't know what your vaccination status is, but I hope you know that in these safe zones, it's a requirement for everyone to be vaccinated. And all the members of my band are not vaccinated. Well, up till the point when I spoke with them, they were not all vaccinated. But it also leaves me in a very precarious position too, because as much as I've built relationships with people who play the music with me, I also my moving forward can't be totally dependent on whether or not they choose to be vaccinated as well. As much as I respect it, I respect it, but it also leaves me in a position where I may at some point in time have to say, well, I'll have to move forward
Yeah.
some other way. And it's so uncomfortable. But right now, it's the only way for us to be able to. And a lot of us, as I said, have not been able to earn. So what are the options? And that's what I'm thinking. What are the options? How do I get past this? How do we deal with it with some level of humanity and empathy, and understanding that people have the right to and still say, well, I have to move forward.
It's a
So
really
it's a
touchy
very
subject.
uncomfortable thing, but right now it's the only thing that can happen. We
Yeah.
don't have a choice right now.
Yeah. Ingrid, what has your experience been like?
Oh, it was tough because all along in the closure, all we had been doing as management was encouraging people to get information, share information. We brought experts on, doctors to talk to staff all the way along, trying to encourage those who were still uncertain, still doing research, to get vaccinated. So that when the safe zone concept came up, it actually was in a way a bit of relief, because I myself was struggling. How were we going to reopen? Because the persons who were vaccinated on our team actually were uncomfortable to work with the unvaccinated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it was like the reverse, right? Even though they had the layer of protection, they were like, but I don't even want it brought to me. You know, they had this feeling that they would have been brought the virus by the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
And even though they were vaccinated, they didn't even want that option to happen. Even though we live with it. We go to the grocery, we don't know who's vaccinated, who's unvaccinated. You walk past those people in the aisle all the time, right? And in the bank,
Yes.
right? If you do any kind of banking that forces you to go into the bank physically, right?
Yeah.
So then when I had to have that conversation with staff, at least it kind of was like, okay, now I know who is going to get vaccinated, who is not going to get vaccinated. And now I had to now look for new staff while they are waiting or making up their mind.
Yeah.
I mean, some have outright said, I've resigned because they are not getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
Some are still waiting. I don't know what they're hoping for, and maybe at some point in time, they're hoping that everything will open up when we get to the point of 70 or 80% vaccinated. Maybe all industries would open up and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
I get a sense that some are waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I guess they can, because there are some people who can, right? Because I employ kind of young people, so they have another way of being supported.
Yeah.
Right. Some I am concerned to them. I become like you, Rhoda, as much as I would want to tell them, for me the thing to do is to be vaccinated so that you can have a livelihood. I can't have those conversations anymore because they have made up their mind. And I just say be safe. And, we have to look for persons to work in the space.
Yeah.
And that's been very hard. In a short space of time to figure out in 2 weeks. I just thank God it wasn't as of midnight tonight, because if it was midnight tonight, right?
Yep.
It would have been 2 weeks later.
Yeah. No, the thing is, for me, it's how in such a short span of time, we're at this, I guess, this philosophical junction. You're either vaccinated or you're not vaccinated.
Yes.
And as a result of that, it means a difference between whether you can be in school or not be in school. Although that was always the case, because you always had to be vaccinated to be in school. But now it's, if you're not vaccinated, chances are you can't work. And then, of course,
It's real.
there are all the employment policies, because even before the safe zones became a thing, you had all of these various sectors beginning to issue
COVID
policies.
policy.
Right, exactly,
Yes.
COVID policies. So, Ingrid, were you ever grappling with whether or not you had to craft a COVID policy?
Well, yes. Because and which one? You know, because like Vaughnette, I felt torn. I wanted to be fair with persons who wanted, a personal decision. And I also felt torn because I felt your personal decision is holding me back from making my livelihood.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
so my COVID policy was very, you know, like a tennis. I was waiting. That's why I said there was some sense of relief that now I could craft a policy that has, the backing of an ordinance
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Right? That it's national. It's not just Cinema One. It's not just the other institutions that are cinemas. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get
Yeah.
It at least gave me something to stand on, as difficult as it still is, because I feel like you've won it, because I've lost some good stuff that have made this personal decision.
Yeah. Vaughnette,
So,
as an entertainer who is an entrepreneur, which basically makes you like a small / medium enterprise, right? It might not be for all 12 months of the year, but certainly whenever you have an event coming up, you fall into the small and medium enterprise category. Are you thinking that you too may have to come up with a vaccination policy?
I have no choice. I have no choice. If I'm doing an event, I mean, separate and apart from using the venues that are right now we can't use venues that are not designated safe zones. So apart from the fact that it's mandated that in the safe zones you can't have people coming who are not vaccinated. At the end of the day, when I'm doing an event, I have people that I hire. I have people who come, my decorator, my this, my that, and everybody who's coming into a particular kind of space. And that's where it will probably have to head. Now, I may be a bit less stringent if there comes a time where I'm creating a space for an event. Like I go in a big cinema where it's not Napa Bowl or it's not Napa or somewhere where we have regulations that govern how these places operate. I don't know how much I'll be able to, but this is where it's going to head. This is where it's going to head, and I don't know how to get out of it. I don't know how to get out of it, other than, oh man, it is really, really tough. Trust me when I tell you, it is really, really tough. But that's the way I see it. It can happen. That's the only way I can see it.
I'm also seeing that this could essentially evolve into a communicable diseases policy, right? Because COVID is just one example of a virus that you can catch that is deadly. If other viruses come about that you can catch that are deadly, I could see
Same thing.
I can see the same thing happening, and so it kind of forces the society. I mean, even if it's not the entire world, certainly various sectors will have to start to think about things like that. And it's a hard conversation to have with people, to say to them, you need to go do this health wise to be able to do this work wise.
Yeah. I really wish it didn't have to get to this, because you're really, and as much as I'm not in the business of pressuring anyone. I am not in that at all. I try my best to not even engage. I mean, I had my nephew who didn't want to go for his vaccine and said he afraid needles with this big tattoo on his arm.
Tattoo on his
I had
arm.
my nephew, and I left him for 2 weeks, and I said, okay, I'm gonna come back. And I tried, a nice little best anti kind of suasion on him over the weeks, because I'm saying that it's not my role to pressure anyone into feeling that they need to be vaccinated. But
let me ask you this, as you're saying it's not your role, and both of you, do you think it's a state's role to have to make vaccines mandatory.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
I
I
think
do.
that's where it has to go.
I
Okay.
I
do.
think that's where it has to go.
Okay. I think
It
that is
has
going
to
to be,
Unfortunately,
go.
and
yes,
you
Ingrid?
know, people want to talk about rights, um, and my rights, but at some point in time, you put people there to govern.
Mm.
You know, and
Yeah.
at some point in time, you have to trust them that they're going to be doing things in the interest of all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's what
Mm-hmm.
we put them there to do.
Mm-hmm.
So at
Yeah.
some point in time, we have to say, okay, you've asked us to do this in our interest.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
should
I
do
think
it.
it's heading to that, quite frankly. I think it is heading
Yeah.
there. I think the I think the state, the Ministry of Health, the Prime Minister, they've been hoping that enthusiasm about the vaccine and vaccination would have lasted long enough that they didn't have to get to that point. Because I
Absolutely.
feel
Yes.
if we had hit 70% vaccination, they would have
Yeah.
open things back up in a particular way, like larger than
Yeah.
50%. I also think if we had hit 70% vaccination and we didn't have what was going on right now with Delta, there'd be a little bit more courage because
Yes.
we're at
Yes.
what 30 something percent fully
Yeah.
vaccinated,
We're at 40.
41%
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
at least a single shot, and I feel that 40% mark there, if there was no Delta and more persons with a single shot in their arm, there'd have
Yes.
been more opening up of the more opening up of
In
sectors, period.
general. In general.
So there's a part of me, because I'm listening to the two of you try to not have to say the controversial things, but I'm gonna jump in.
Well, you're accustomed.
Right? There's a part of me that thinks to myself, that thinks sometimes that I'm being held to ransom for other people's decisions. And if I was in your position where your livelihood is dependent on people being able to come out and socialize and interact and be in the public domain, and they needed to be vaccinated to do that, I'd feel like this adamant idea of no, I'm not going to get vaccinated, no, I'm not going to do this, it's undermining me. It's like an attack on me. That's how I would feel. So I'm not going to ask you if you feel that way. What I'm going to ask is, how do you navigate those emotions? Vaughnette,
Yeah.
let me start
And
with you.
that's, and I think I explained, I think I was talking with someone on Messenger the other day and saying that I felt myself going into this kind of hole the other day and hear exactly why. I am just saying, so is it that I have absolutely no control over where my career heads now? That's how I felt. I felt like I have no control because my moving forward is totally dependent now on individual decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying it feels like I have no control over what do I do next? What do I do next? And I'm talking about the public at large. How do you feel? How are you in a situation where, well, so what do I switch? Do I switch careers again now to something that's less
Because you just
dependent
switched careers. You switched careers when
on
2018, somewhere thereabouts.
yes. So I felt like that. You're correct. I felt like, oh my gosh, this you're basically telling me that if people don't choose to go out and get vaccinated and we're going to be stuck here indefinitely and I just will never be able to move forward. And that messed up my head really, really badly. Messed me up totally because I'm saying I feel like I have absolutely no control over what happens next.
Yeah. Ingrid, how are you navigating the emotions linked around that challenge to your
You know,
industry?
I always knew we would open.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed really long.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was looking at the pattern of what was going on in the world around me, and I knew we weren't going to be an island standing alone. I knew that we would follow suit. It just was taking longer. But
Right.
remember now, I am looking at cinemas that had been closed for 12 months. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So part of me was like, at least I got the opportunity to open 3 months in between. You know, as hard as it was to be locked down 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
at least I got an opportunity to open for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I was kind of looking at it in context
Yeah.
because that was keeping me sane.
Yeah.
That was, you know, I had to look at my situation in context, right? But Vaughnette, don't think I didn't feel some of for me, it was like, who has more rights? Whose rights we really looking at and weighing now,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Because
I agree with you.
I was more understanding at the beginning of all of it.
There.
I would
So
say I was more understanding at the beginning. The first 6 months, 8 months, I was more understanding of people's hesitancy.
yes.
Because I guess I was one of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. But then when information became more available, a lot more information about the vaccines and their efficacy and the research that had gone into it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, you know, one of the first things we all felt was this came out too soon. The vaccine
soon.
came out,
Yeah. There were lots
right?
of persons
the
thinking like
history
that.
of what was going on all the time. You know, it wasn't just like today this virus came into being. So when I was able to get past that, for a part of me was like, but if I feel this way, how come others aren't feeling this way? Because I also too did feel hesitant, right?
Yes.
So I moved from that to kind of what, you know, whose rights are more being considered now at this point in time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how I hope that more of us to become vaccinated. I hope people start to realize that we need to trust,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it's, you know, it's not just happening here, it's worldwide.
Exactly.
This
It is.
worldwide.
It is worldwide, and I think the point that you make there about trust is important, because if we're going to be talking about living with the virus, then we have
Yes.
to learn to live with trust. Punto final. We have to learn to live with trust. But I also think that you can't be ignorant about how you're going about living with trust. I'll be the first to say I have no problems getting vaccinated, but I'm the sort of person who I adopt technology fairly quickly, right? And while we've also been going through a vaccine hesitancy period, I've been experiencing on a daily basis, you know, for the last 18 months, a tech hesitancy issue as well. And looking at persons, the same approach to the vaccine and the virus, I'm seeing the same approach to technology, embracing technology, using technology, adopting and adapting to technology. So I felt like very constrained on a number of levels, burdened on a number of levels, feeling like I want to take off and do things in a particular way and not be able to do things in a particular way because of that hesitancy, because of the fear of the unknown. The two of you, as of tomorrow, you're heading into an unknown. You're heading into a new paradigm, a new shift. So I want to know, what tools are you stepping forward with? Because it's very easy to be scared about it and to succumb to the fear. So how are you, or what are you doing to not succumb to the fear? Vaughnette, I'm going to start with you.
Me, well, my fear started already, yeah? Because hear what I'm saying to, okay, Vaughnette. So you decide, because I'm saying, you know what? Okay, if we're going to get into these safe zones, I jumping out. I jumping out, man. Let me be the example of how the safe zone can function. We can have an event because that event that I did in April was pretty well managed. Huh? La Prima Bowl and these venues, they have their things so well organized. That thing was so well managed. So we did it before. And I mean, if this is how we have to survive, then somebody has to take the chance to say, okay, let's do it and see and show that it can work. So I said, well, me, I'm not here to lose, really. So let me jump out. I mean, I am not here to fall out. So let me jump out and see. But it is a different dispensation.
Yeah.
And something as simple as wondering, oh my gosh, do we have enough vaccinated people to come out to make that event worthwhile for me? Do I have enough vaccinated people or people who, because I also have a lot of people who follow this stuff that I do who have not taken the vaccine. So I don't know how much my target audience has changed. I don't know
Yeah.
how many of you can talk to them individually to find out if you vaccinated. So that's the next thing. Do I have enough vaccinated persons out there to make my event worthwhile? Because I'm also not St. Vincent de Paul. This is not a charitable association I'm running. I'm trying to make a little money so I could live a little and buy a little perfume once a year. I'm trying to
That's the
survive. So
goal. Perfume once a year.
yeah,
Yes.
I just say once so that people wouldn't think I'm indulgent. But so all of this, and then wondering, of course, because it's a whole new requirement. For me to apply for this space now, I have to carry my vaccination. I have to carry the vaccination cards for my entire, and it's not just my cast, the crew, anybody who's going to be on that compound. I have to ensure that I have all their vaccination documents. So another thing to think about in trying to manage the event. So I really have to get a team. I mean, I have a team that would normally work with me, but to just try to ensure that we fill all the gaps. But
Are the fines
that
are the fines raising concerns for you? They on the pod or
well,
the possibility of spending 3 months at
fines are
Golden
not
Grove?
the fines are not going to. I'm hoping that because these events I'm going to have are at established safe zones. So the staff at the let's say the staff at Napa Bowl or the staff at Napa, they're going to be primarily responsible for ensuring that all the persons who come on the compound are vaccinated. Whatever systems we put in place as the producer of the event and the owner of the event or the manager of the event. But I think I'll do my best to ensure because I don't have any money to give the government, Rhoda. I don't have any free money to just be handing the government. So it's to basically do as much or do the best that we can do to ensure that we work within the confines of the safe zone requirement. Other than that, it's just to stay home and do nothing, and that is not an option for me anymore. It's
Yeah.
not. So I just have to try to manage all the issues surround. I mean, we have safe zones, established safe zones where all the staff in the safe zones are not vaccinated as well.
Yes.
That is also something to consider too. You put out that there's a safe zone. This is a safe zone, this particular hall, and we're not sure that all the people who are working there are vaccinated. So that's the next thing.
But isn't that a
Having
consideration though? I mean, I was looking at the guidelines today, and it seemed to me
well,
that certainly the
it's
staff.
mandated. It's mandated that everyone who works
All
there
have
must be
to be,
vaccinated.
yes.
But the fact is, I think that announcement was made prior to ensuring that all of that was done. So I don't know if we're playing a little catch up here. Well, I hope by the time people start planning events that will be the case, but they don't have a choice. So it's just to try to manage. I don't know about the option for PCR tests for persons who are patrons. I think the what I saw is that patrons must be vaccinated. I don't know if there's an option
I didn't think
for
that was an
people
option. No.
I don't know. So maybe that's just an option for the staff at the facility. But
I don't
it's
even
just
think it's an
trying to figure
option for the staff, Vaughnette. I
Really?
think a
I
safe
don't know.
zone is a safe zone.
Must be man.
I
Must be
Yeah.
Must be
No, you're right.
vaccinated.
For persons who are employed, but they would fall under the exemptions. Like if you
Right. Those
have a
with medical
medical
condition.
certificate or
Yes.
the
Right.
So that's it. You can. I think if you've got a
referral
medical
certificate.
condition, you have that exemption. Outside of that, if you're not vaccinated, you have to have the PCR tests,
Yes.
not the
No,
rapid
no.
tests.
It
Not
is a
the-
PCR. That's what I was.
Yeah,
that's
not
what
the
it
PC,
is.
not the rapid
not
test,
in
the
it.
PCR, the up, swabbing your brain test, right?
Yes.
Which is not the most pleasant test to have to be
No.
doing.
No.
So Ingrid, how are you? I guess navigating the fears, the concerns.
Because, as I said, remember now I'm looking at my market, how it's operating in other places. So it gives me hope. And also, I mean, you just could never know, right? When the week is, I'm starting Monday. Next week, Monday, ask me that question. Because right now, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Right.
Because, my customers, they're like a message away from me, a lot of them. So, they've kind of reached out to me. I'm ready. I'm coming. I want a room. I want these tickets. So that kind of has been giving me some excitement, adding to the excitement.
Yeah.
Right? Will I be excited if it's only 500 people that came through for the week? No. But,
No.
I'll know at the other end of it, right? But right now, I get a sense that people are ready to come off the couch. I'm fortunate that I have solid, exciting content that people want to come out and see on a big screen. So I'm kind of fortunate. The worry is being able to deliver customer service with new staff who are now going to learn the ropes. I feel like I'm beginning all over again.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
My one of my major concerns is the fact that I tell people for my events, my production costs for 25 people don't differ too much from my production cost for 200 people, because I I go all out for my events. I go all out for my events. So this ceiling of 50% capacity. So this event that I'm planning to do in the very early December, the capacity for Naprima Bowl is 250 people, and I still don't know if that's going to make sense financially for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
right.
I mean, and we have all the questions about. I mean, I had to reach out to a health worker the other day to say, well, okay, so when are we going to be able to go at 75% or 100% capacity
Well,
if
I think
everybody is back?
the major reason there's a 50% capacity constraint is because of Delta's presence.
Yes.
Yeah,
It
the
is.
community spread of Delta. That's what I've heard.
It is.
Ingrid,
So-
someone wants to know if Fast 9 will be coming to IMAX.
I did not choose that title, but we are hoping to bring it on demand. So, like, if you bring your bubble for the room at 50%,
Yeah.
we are looking at bringing it for not on the schedule, but on demand, if you would like it to be seen.
Right. So in terms of bringing your bubble, the bubbles would be in Gemstone Cinemas. So if you book the smaller rooms.
Yes, in a Gemstone.
Okay.
Yes.
And how many persons
So
would be
I have a
allowed?
few bubbles booked, actually.
You
I
have a
few
couple
bubbles
booked bubbles.
Yes.
Okay,
Which
so
is a good thing, right?
Yes. So tell me how the bubble booking works.
They torture me all hours of the night. Well, basically, you can email info@cineone.biz and request it. Say I would like to book this room. This is how many persons. We ask you to come in and make a payment, and it's as easy as that.
Okay.
Once the room is available and no tickets have sold in the room
Yeah.
that you would like for that showtime.
Now I know the rooms are they can hold 15 persons, or is it 20 persons?
Yes.
Right.
Well, it's 15, 20, 25, and 30. There are 4 rooms.
Okay. So will it be 50% capacity in the bubbles?
Yes, because I don't want anybody visiting me.
I hear you. I hear you.
So Vaughnette, when is supposed to be your next event, or when are you planning to have an event?
Well, I have an initial booking for the bowl for December 4th. Um, so that's what I think I definitely will get 250 tickets sold.
Right.
I'm not
Yes.
worried about that. I'm just worried about ensuring that with those 250 tickets that I sell, that it's somewhat not a loss making or break even
Right.
making venture for me, because I'm not about doing events for exposure anymore.
Right.
I, I'm trying to live. I'm trying to take care of my son. So I just to make sure that the finances work, because that 250 minimum is a challenge for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So, barring lockdown, I mean, I don't actually think that lockdown is going to be another option. I think there have been too many lockdowns and it's had like such a deleterious impact on the economy that I don't see it happening again, right? Unless there's like some really, really, really
Catastrophic event. Yeah.
exactly like, spread is ridiculous and, death
Yes.
rates and that kind of thing. So, short of that, Vaughnette, how are you thinking about, I guess, doing your performances? Are you looking at a show a month, a show every couple months? Because, it's been a good long year of not working. So, how are you thinking about
Yeah.
structuring your return?
So pre-pandemic, I had made a decision to do three major events for the year that are my events. This is separate and apart from whatever people hire me for, all the festivals.
Somebody trying to call Vaughnette. So,
For Vaughnette Bigford production or whatever.
right.
So, outside of the December event, I'm still thinking of doing my carnival jazz brunch. Well, it was a brunch before. I don't know what is the configuration, but I'm still thinking of doing that. Whether or not we have a carnival, but around that time, as long as it's, of course, as long as I can do it. I'm looking at spaces right now, of course, in within the safe zone, in bracket, and that's as far as I'm planning right now, and I'll just step back a bit and see how those two go, and then plan a way forward after that. But I want to mention something. Yesterday, I day before yesterday, I put up a post on Facebook asking about carnival, and carnival, is carnival happening, or are we going to have all inclusive events in safe zones for vaccinated people? I don't know. And somebody responded and said to me, what is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people? Can't you see we're in the middle of a pandemic and whatever and whatever? And I just really want to let people know. I use this opportunity to let people know that the intent is not to contribute to any spread, or to make this pandemic worse. This for me, it's been 18 months of being one of the most disciplined persons on the face of the earth. I
Yeah.
do what I need to do. We do what we need to do to ensure we do our part. But this is about balancing life and livelihood. This is about people being able to feed their families. And this is about stepping outside of ourselves. And sometimes a lot of us who are commenting are the persons who have not been directly affected. A lot of them are home, but still getting their salaries at the end of the month. A lot of us who getting the pension at the end of the month. There are people who have been earning absolutely nothing.
For
So sometimes
months.
for months.
Yeah.
So sometimes just a little empathy and just being able to step outside of yourself and your situation and understand that there are people who are required to make some move to be able to survive. So I just thought that I'd mention that sometimes we just need to think outside of our own situations when we're making comments too.
Oh, agreed and agreed entirely. I mean, this entire time, whenever there was talk about not allowing restaurants to function and not allowing street vending, I would automatically be thinking, but there's so many people, that's how they're earning a living,
That's how they live.
right? That's how they live. And even with me, I do a lot of my own cooking at home. I've often done a lot of my own cooking at home. But I would go out and have meals,
To
order meals
support.
or go to restaurants because that's how people making a living. And
Yes.
a domestic economy is incredibly important. If you're not putting money into the economy and money's not moving around in the economy, it matters little how much going on in terms of exports and the energy sector. You need to have money moving around domestically. So, Ingrid, I want to ask this. If another lockdown was to have to hit, right? Between last year and now, and I'm not wishing it on you at all. I'm just thinking, have you begun to think, or have you thought to yourself, if something like this was to happen again, this is how I'm going to pivot, or this is how I'm going to reconfigure my business?
Yes, yeah. I have no choice. Even now, even being open, that is still being explored.
Yeah.
Because that would be the only way. I mean, I couldn't just pivot. I remember people saying, well, why don't you just pivot?
Like I am netball. I say I'm not Jean Pierre.
Arena, and I'll just do a nice little pirouette. I mean, so we are exploring to try and not, be so vulnerable if something were to happen again.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. We were after the second one and after the third one, it became, let's stop thinking about it. We have to make some real efforts and actions towards it.
Yeah.
So it is in train, but slow at the moment, but it is in train.
Yeah. All right, ladies, this is where we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank you so much for sharing your views and your opinions. Ingrid, in a week's time, I'm going to ask you how things going, just to kind of get a sense of where it is, where it's at. Vaughnette, I guess I had to wait until December.
Answer,
Yes, I'm hoping you'll be able to give me an answer. So, Vaughnette, for you, I have to wait until December to ask you the same question.
Well, you know you will ask me some question between tonight or tomorrow night.
Yeah, I want to know when you're putting out tickets and them kind of things. So we have a sense of whether 250 people showing up at the event. I'm not
worried about the 250.
No, am I? I'm not worried about the 250 persons. I think you're going to get the 250 persons. Yeah, for me, I'll tell you where my concern is. My concern in all of this is that we get to the point where people begin to figure out how to navigate living with this virus and living with each other. Living with each other and living with the virus. So, ladies, thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for the views. Have yourselves a good weekend. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Right. So that was Vaughnette Bigford, jazz artist extraordinaire. Most of you all would know her on social media as well, not just at jazz events. And Ingrid Jahra, who is the owner of the Imax franchise in Trinidad and Tobago. So those of you that have ever been to the Digicel Imax cinemas, Cinema 1 and the Gemstone cinemas and the 4D cinema at Imax, Ingrid Jahra is the person. She is the energy. She's the force behind that cinema. So I hope you all enjoyed the conversation this evening as we looked at the safe zones and getting into the safe zones and what it means. And I hope that those of you that are vaccinated go out and enjoy and partake in the entertainment in the safe zones if you're up to it, if you want to. And those of you that are not vaccinated, think about getting vaccinated. Just think about it, entirely up to you. Wednesday, I'm going to be back here to talk about what happened with the opposition in the parliament this weekend with the budget debate. And on Friday, we are going to be talking to a representative of security officers in Trinidad and Tobago, because there's a lot going on in the security industry. And when you know what I mean, security officers, security guards, there's a lot going on in the security industry, and we need to talk about it. We need to bring some of the issues to light. So I will see you on Wednesday and I will see you on Friday. I hope you all have yourselves a very good week, and take it easy.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
Yes, Angie. Wednesday we'll be back.